Coming up next on the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast.
People discredit cleaners as unintelligent. My cleaners are some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. Just as a whole can of worms right there when it comes to respect in the industry.
From your first dollar to your first million, welcome to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast, presented by ZenMade. Join your host, Stephanie Pipkin, founder of Serene Clean, as she shares proven tips, tricks, and hard-earned lessons. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, get ready to discover how to build your own cleaning empire. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Pipkin, and with me today is Vanessa Higgins, and she is the owner and founder of Tu Casa Cleaning Services in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Vanessa, so much for joining me today. How did you enjoy the snow last week in Atlanta?
It was fabulous. I know everyone with snow up in the north probably thinks we're rookies over here, but we really did enjoy the snow with our kids, and it was a good family time. We ended up not being able to drive out in the roads. Just Atlanta is not able to really handle that, the traction. So Clean Tu Casa family got a chance to enjoy their families that day.
That's kind of fun, especially... Cozy. Yeah, when it doesn't hit like that often. Obviously, I'm in Savannah, so I'm a little south of you. And I was looking up there in Atlanta. I'm like, holy crap! Like it looks like a like Armageddon up there. Like everybody was just crashing their vehicles,
and then it was gone by Sunday.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that's how it is down here in the South.
Yes. So it is kind of fun. But I just wanted to note that you are in Atlanta, and we're not that far from each other. So for our listeners, if you've never heard of Vanessa, she has a pretty incredible story. She built her business very fast. So Vanessa transitioned from a very long-standing corporate marketing career. And I want to touch on this and hear, how this went. Vanessa, give us your story. Because so many people that I talk to are transitioning from like a long-standing career in totally different industries than the cleaning industry. And I know people look at them like they're insane when they're like, I'm going to go clean houses and start all over when I have a very stable career. And so I'm sure that is very relatable. So I will give you the floor. Tell me all about that. And did people think you were crazy?
Oh, yeah, totally. They did think I was crazy. But, you touched on a really important word there, stability. What is stability these days? Look at Los Angeles right now. They're going to have to completely rebuild and rebirth the whole city. I think any way you're looking at it as an entrepreneur, or if you're in a job with an employer, corporate, or just working for a small business, I think the illusion of permanence and control is at a different level for us, a different reality. And for me, going into a corporate job, I had stability there, and it was a wonderful career. I really enjoyed it. I was one of the few at a very young age, 11 years old, where I was making commercials on radio, like pretend I was doing radio commercials, and I just loved advertising and marketing. And it turned out to be a really sustainable idea for any business, and sustainable idea for me as a career choice. And I loved helping Fortune 500 companies like Delta Airlines, Home Depot, EY, Ernst & Young at the time, create their brands and help them, or not me create their brands, already in force, and encourage and elevate their brands to other markets and levels. And that turned into the need of wanting to make sure that you always have a side gig. I totally encourage all of us, and I have 4 kids, 3 that are already college bound and 1 in college. I think there's a notion of there's not just one job that you can do these days. And for my children, I try to teach them a whole other side of what we're here to do as far as servicing and being purposeful and helping others. How can you do that? And I think I combined 2 things that I really loved doing for many years, which was building brands, marketing a service or a product. And the service aspect was something that was lacking. Even though corporate jobs, they have a lot of social responsibility and they help out with volunteer efforts and community, I wanted to feel something a little bit more homegrown, and something that where I can help not only a community, but help a small group of people grow within within a business and create jobs. What better feeling than that can you do to create more jobs in this world? Because AI eventually will start to replace certain jobs. So Clean to Casa was built in 2017 after I left my B2B global marketing job from Delta. And I went in thinking that I wanted to make sure that my company had great customer service, a great company culture where it really helped to lift up our employees, make them feel valued, listened to, and well paid to make sure that they can buy milk and food for their families. Because cost of living does certainly go up, and we have noticed that through the pandemic. We survived it. We started in doing residential and commercial cleaning and Airbnb, and those three aspects of our business continue today. So we serve small businesses, large businesses. We serve homes around the Metro Atlanta area and Airbnbs still to this day with a great, awesome team. I have to give them kudos. We've been very fortunate to have low turnover with our jobs, and they've been really abiding to our company culture and adapting to those values that we try to instill. And that's what I wanted to talk to you today about. I figured that's something that all of us as business owners should really discuss and understand.
Absolutely. And you touched on so many good points, and company culture. I mean, I yammer on about this so much, but I truly think that is what will take a mediocre or somewhat good cleaning business to one that is great or unbeatable, frankly. And I've taken that same approach with Serene Clean, that truly my pride is in my team and the fact that I can provide an excellent job, like you said, where it's like you're paying high, you're giving them the ability to exude excellence. And there's something about having a team of people with high standards that you hold them to, that just we're on a mission, right? And that it's very motivating, and being around like-minded people it's a wonderful thing when it comes to like, we are here to serve. And we hear, I'm like, it feels good to be the best. And that may sound cocky, but it's trying to instill in them, like, we want to be the best.
I think if all of us act to be our best, then we're just better overall as a society.
100%.
That's how it should be.
100%. So I'm curious, with your background in marketing and touching on brand, that is something that, especially some of our newer listeners, that newer in the business, I should say, many of our listeners are just starting out or are just a couple years into business. They still have a small team. And so can you talk to me about the importance of having a cohesive brand? What does that even mean? Because we all talk about branding, marketing, how that's so important. And my degree's in marketing. I love marketing too. So we're talking the same language here. It's just so exciting. It really is the secret sauce to giving a certain feeling to the client and to the employee. So what do you think about brand? How do you see that?
You know what? I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy here. So we all can relate to it. Let's say you're beginning to date somebody and you start to go out on multiple dates to see who is your type, like a speed dating. And if you think of it as you're showing your personality, your charisma, your knowledge, whatever you do to try to win that acceptance and respect. That's basically what branding is. It's really trying to show the personality of that company. And without a logo, without really trying to create posts that really explain your expertise, that dive into your before and afters, that just spotlight your employees' hard work or just accomplishments or birthdays, trying to create that culture and really showing that your brand, your company is living and breathing like a personality. And I think that's very important for any business to distinguish them from anyone else, because it draws in like a cohesiveness. It brings in unity. It brings in a really great foundation to build from.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to think of every aspect of your business as if you were an outsider. What would you think if you interacted with this business? And it's literally every little detail down to the employee's uniform or the team member's uniform. How do they handle their supplies and manage that? How does that look? Even to the point, I mean, just this year, we're like, oh, they're using Walmart bags to like take their dirty rags in and out of the house. We're like, that looks cheap. Like, at least it could be Target. Like, could we not use Target bags? So we got them all linen bags.
That just happened to us.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that is not the image we're looking for.
So even that of like, that is because perception is everything. What is the client perceiving? Totally. And so little details like that, I know that may be a silly example, but that's one example of a million that make up, yes, the personality of your company. And it needs to be cohesive. It needs to not be sloppy. And it's not like out the gate as a new owner, you're just going to be like, oh, this is what it is. It's going to evolve and grow just like a person would. But as time goes on, like, you need to be thinking about this of what is that appearance like? What is every interaction like? And I know before we started recording, we were talking about nailing every touch point and every interaction. So can you go into that of what you mean by, missing those interactions or not handling it well?
Yeah, I think that's one aspect that I'm going to be honing in a lot more in for 2025. And I've actually created a presentation for people that are onboarded as new employees so they can kind of get a feel for what does our company look like from the outside, from the inside, and what's important to us as a whole overall. Because we do try to take it from like my corporate background. I try to really, I'm so grateful for having that, because you really tie those loose ends into creating that foundation from the get-go. But that presentation is going to be used for ongoing, just refreshers for our current staff that have been with us for 5+ years, just to make sure that they realize from leadership level down to the cleaning tech level that we're all creating a customer experience. So whether you're on the sales call or if you're following up on a customer with how the cleaning went yesterday, all of those touch points are creating a client experience. So that timeline of that one first clean, from the way that they went to the website and how easy was it to request a clean, to the sales call, how smooth of a process was that? Did we get all of the expectations correct? Did we follow up to set the expectations before the cleaning? The follow-up during the cleaning. How's everything going? Anything that needs to be touched on, whether that's reaching out to the staff, understanding if there's any surprises, or on the client side, and then the follow-up afterwards, all the way through to paying for that cleaning. It would be terrible if everyone's putting 100% into that filter, and then there's a cog that just gets stuck with someone that had an attitude, or maybe they did walk in with a plastic bag and they're not showing a premium service. Like, I thought I was paying premium pricing for this cleaning. That whole experience is what I'm trying to make sure our team really understands. And as we start to scale up and add some more team members to our team this year. And part of it was, if you think of a company, and Stephanie, I'll give you an example. When you think of Disney, what are 2 words that come to mind when you think of their brand?
Fun and actually cleanliness. I know that their parks are very clean. So I've never been there, but that's actually the first thing that comes to mind is like if one of their...
you gotta go.
Yeah, I know, right? Especially now I'm not that far away. And I know
you're not. You're super close.
Yeah, it's a rule that like if a cast member sees like a piece of garbage on the ground, like they need to pick it up, like regardless if they're a cleaner or not. So yeah, obviously cleaning brand.
I love your cleaning business owner hat that you put on just to come. Because that was part of my presentation too. Like, what do they make you feel? And I was thinking Disney, like it's expensive, but it's worth it because it's magical.
Experience. It's magical. Yes.
So I wanted the team to kind of feel that. What do you want to exude? What do you want to portray for me personally, I would love for us to always be thought of Atlanta's trusted cleaning partner. Like they can trust us. We're professional, and we're like a partner. We're just not a cleaning company. We're really are their eyes and ears on properties that maybe they don't have their eyes. They're not able to be physically at. So.
Yeah, especially with the vacation rentals and some things that, just talking about like tactically some examples of increasing that customer experience, because we've been on the same focus trajectory in this past year, especially for like every single interaction from lead comes in to first cleaning, second cleaning, like then they're reoccurring. So it's
That's
like
right.
there's a million little micro behaviors that we want to have. And some of the couple examples that we've done, because for us, when like Serene Clean, we want to exude luxury, serenity, calm, of course, and also extremely like no detail left unturned. And what I mean by that is for us, onboarding clients is actually kind of like they have to go through a lot of questions and the reason we do that on the front end is so that at the cleaning, they don't like everything's taken care of. They don't like it's off of their shoulders. So things like where does the garbage go? Like how do you want us to communicate with you? Every little thing like that. We just don't want to have to bug them incessantly. We want to just nail it.
Yeah,
and
they're giving you the keys to succeed. So
exactly. And when it comes to like giving that sense of luxury, some of the things we've done is we've this past year we've developed a custom scent blend that now is like we've turned into candles. And so
that's awesome.
yeah, and so they're all the cleaners have room sprays in the signature scent, which is called, well, I'm not going to say it because we're going to possibly trademark it, so I don't want anybody stealing it. And then we leave a candle at the first reoccurring clean with a thank you card. Another thing that we do after the second cleaning, I just started doing this along with our anniversaries, which shout out to ZenMaid's celebration feature that has now allowed me to do this, is once a month now I'm recording personalized looms to everybody on their cleaning anniversary, meaning our customers, thanking them for their service, reminding them for any feedback, of course. And then additionally, after their second cleaning, and they haven't rebooked for us, because that's right there after that second cleaning, that's that precipice of are they going to become a reoccurring client or not? And so we want to push them to get to that reoccurring nature, because obviously that's where the money is.
Yeah,
and so yeah, I send them a personalized loom from me, the owner, to them saying, thank you so much. Like, we'd love to help you in the future, blah, blah, blah. And so it has already shown a great impact. And even though that sounds like a lot of work, I just batch it. But I want it to feel like they are so taken care of, even if it's systematic. Like they're like, oh, like I'm the only customer almost. We want them to have that feeling. So I know that those are kind of like extreme examples and not everybody can do that in the beginning. But for you guys that are listening who maybe you can't do that, but get creative. What could you do to elevate your brand or make it to be the way you want it to be? And really critically think about what Vanessa is saying here of what do you want your brand to give the impression of? What do you want people to feel when they interact with you? So excellent advice there.
Thank you. And I can hear some of my peers in the industry saying, ay, Dios mío, one more thing to put on my list.
Yeah.
When's it going to end? When's it going to end? It doesn't. It doesn't. But that's something that my husband, Alex, and I and our team is working on too, where we realize some of the pitfalls that happened. You have so much ambition, so much dream capacity without the actual execution capacity to make these things happen. And we're working on something. We haven't been able to release it yet, but we will be introducing it to our friends soon, where it will be able to help them carry out some of these tasks, whether it's from a person helping you or an AI being able to help you. I love that our industry as a whole is looking at AI from different aspects. How can we all help each other, support each other? We're just a naturally lift up type of community in the cleaning industry. And this is one other aspect that I feel like it certainly can create a need, whether it's in English or in Spanish or another language, to really help out, carry out these tasks with sales, with lead follow-up, with cleaning follow-up. with anniversaries for clients, just to kind of chime in, making sure that if you don't have a CRM like ZenMaid, then you're able to, how do you automate that?
Yep.
More automations where they're not going to fall through the cracks.
I love that. I can't wait to hear more about this when you're able to talk about it. And talking about AI, I know that a lot of people are like, AI, like it's so overwhelming. And I felt that way as well until I started just using like the simpler ones. And it's so integrated in so many of the softwares that we use now, it really just feels natural to use it. But to give a couple examples of how we use AI in Serene Clean in a day-to-day, helping us write difficult emails or rephrase to be more succinct, or if we need to have a difficult conversation with an employee, we'll bounce ideas off of it. One of the most useful examples I can think of is we were hiring for our quality control and our quality control. I can't remember her title right now off the top of my head, but it was a new position and we wanted very specific traits to be in this role. So, like they need to be able to be incredibly independent and have all of these traits. And so instead of saying, can you give me an example of how you're independent and think for yourself or whatever, which is just, whatever, that's not a good question. We said, hey, AI, ChatGPT or whoever, these are the traits we are looking for in this position. You could totally do this for your cleaning interviews as well. Give us scenario-based questions that would work for these traits and so that we can interview people with it. And we just kind of went back and forth and they gave us such good questions. They really helped us get to the bottom and cut through the kind of BS of interviewing. And we were hiring from within, so we already had a good idea of who our ideal candidates were going to be for this position. But it's very helpful. Can you give any examples of how you use or some suggestions for our owners to use AI?
Yeah, no, I think I always have encouraged our team to always think of ZenMaid, your online scheduler, as an employee.
That's a good way to think of it. Yeah.
Use it to communicate things that you heard on the phone on the sales call to help make sure that information is relayed. It's so, I think there's, as you get bigger, and you get more employees, and then you get maybe 2 salespeople, it starts to a little bit become diluted, the way that
communication breakdown,
communications and things like that. So I think using your CRM to be able to communicate the tone, the kind of person that house that you're going to or office that there a little bit about the background of the contact that you're going to be dealing with. And if your CRM is able to translate it into the language that cleaner speaks, make sure that there's nothing that skips a beat. Whether you're able to understand what that translation is and kind of tweak it just to make sure it's not a faulty translation. That's even better. But I think eventually we're going to see a lot more fascinating benefits and concerns in our industry. But I feel like we all should think of it as a collaboration rather than a replacement of things. Throughout time, even through caveman times, so many things have been replaced, tasks that have been replaced, using a knife rather than a tree branch. I don't know, but eventually things have always evolved. That's just the evolvement of time. And there's a documentary on Netflix. If anyone is really just completely not really understanding what AI is capable of doing, I encourage you to check out the documentary on Netflix with Bill Gates, What's Next. Okay. It gives you a really good explanation. And if you are with that entrepreneur spirit, hopefully it just starts to just bounce ideas into your brain to see how do we apply this, not only on a personal level, but on a professional level for our team, for our clients, and see where it takes you, because it's a pretty fascinating time in history and it's evolving super, super fast.
Yeah, it is. And just to roll with the punches of the changes, and even, yeah, utilizing software, and switching to things that just make more sense. Even like an example software that we've introduced in the past year, it's called Trainual, and we're using it for our orientation,
Mm-hmm.
and we're using it for documenting all of our standard operating procedures so that all of my management, can, actually take vacations, and everything gets done without incident. Or if we want, as we grow and we add virtual assistants and things, it's so easy to seamlessly delegate. And so, great tip, or a really good book is called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Actually, Ryan from ZenMate is the one who told me about that one. And that book literally changed my life. And it really helped me frame my time as such a finite, valuable resource. And one of the biggest things that people get scared about when it comes to delegating is like, oh, they're not going to do it the way that I want them to do it. So record yourself doing it. Use Loom, use, Trainual. You don't need something like that. That's a little bit maybe more advanced, or once you get a little bigger, but Loom 100%, or just, record your screen and explain what you're doing and talk through it. And that way, when you want to move it on to somebody else, you can. There you go. They can go look at the video and watch it.
So I'm going to be a little corporate for you, on you right now, just to give an idea.
Yeah.
When it comes to something like that, and you're creating a Loom, that's so helpful. It's a good go-by. But I also try to encourage them to use their own personality in it. So I try to give them just like a bullet point. These are the key things that we want to communicate. Put your own spin on it. But those are the things that need to come out of it.
That's a great idea. Good suggestion. Because
what you want to, what needs to be communicated, because everybody has their own style.
Well, and honestly, some of the best ideas have absolutely not came from me, like, especially even like people discredit, I think, cleaners as unintelligent. And it's like,
I agree.
My cleaners are some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. Like, they are, and that just is a whole can of worms right there when it comes to respect in the industry. But listen to them, ask for feedback. Like, we are constantly improving our field procedures, our customer service procedures based on feedback from the cleaners, because they're in the field, they are in and out with the clients all day long, and they're the ones doing the work. So listen, if they've got a suggestion or feedback, allow them to provide it. And you may decide it's not for the company, but at least give them the opportunity to share, because that definitely happens. Sometimes we're like, oh, can we use this product or tool or whatever? And for whatever reason, it's not what we want to use, but we always ask, but it could broach, well, why are you suggesting this? Is there something difficult that you're dealing with in the field that you feel our current processes are not handling it well? The extendable dusters, they suck. So that's why you're suggesting this thing. Well, maybe we need to look at the extendable dusters, and just, they're a wealth of information. So don't be afraid to, ask them. What's interesting is just, my business is in Wisconsin. I've never had a Spanish speaking employee. So I would love to hear. Yeah, it's just, I don't think so. Yeah, we're also in very rural Wisconsin. So what I would love to hear is
your company's in Wisconsin, but you're in. I love that. You're remote.
Yes, for 2 years now. I've lived down here. So up there, it's just not. For whatever reason, it just hasn't happened, just because of the demographic and everything that is up there. So my question is, what kind of difficulties have you had? Anything specific? Like, do you have any horror stories when it comes to having, Hispanic employees? Or I would love to hear challenges, or what do you feel like the strengths are of having dual languages, things like that? It's just fascinating to me because I haven't experienced it.
Okay. I have two things I'll tell you. There's going to be more strengths than not.
Of course, yeah.
But I can tell you the things that are not is where it becomes a language barrier with client to staff. And we need to step in. We just reassure them that they're learning the language. And I don't want to demean what we're doing. But we do have integrity. We have experience, and it's not like we're doing brain surgery here. If you tell us what to do and give us a very clear instruction, for the most part, we're going to, maybe we need to see a little bit more exactly what they need, or take a picture of what you exactly need to have clean, but we'll get it. And that's one challenge I see.
Yep.
The second thing is we have a monthly meeting with our team because we have an office. We're pretty much remote per se because we don't have an in-home. I have an in-home office, but we don't have a physical office that everybody gathers to.
Okay.
Everything's pretty much online. I prefer that with that fantastic Atlanta traffic that they leave from their driveway to go straight to a client's house. And, and if they need to refuel on supplies, liquids, we have a storage facility in Atlanta that they go to fill it up.
Perfect. I was just going to ask, how do you handle supplies? Because I get this question all the time. Like, how do I handle like replenishing if you don't have an office? So great to hear you. And is it, well, I guess in Atlanta, it wouldn't have to be temperature controlled, I imagine, because.
Oh, no, it has to be temperature controlled.
It does. Okay.
Just last Friday was crazy.
Well, the problem all the time in the North is we forget to bring our kits in, and our cleaning supplies are frozen every time. I've had to stand at a kitchen thawing out my
I bet. I can imagine.
But anyway, side note. Anyway.
No, it's all good. And we pretty much have an honor code where you take what you need, and we need to be better at inventory, but we're taking tabs. People are pretty honest on what they take and what they need. The second challenge I see from it is just from the aspect of when you do meet together as a team, it tends to be a little bit longer.
Sure, because you have to
just because I do everything bilingual. Our team communications, everything is bilingual. On the strength side, I see the knowledge and the efficiency is prime to none sometimes. Like where I'm a native to Atlanta. My mother's from Colombia. My dad is American but Irish. I feel more Latina than anything else in my little mutt mix. But and I can clean pretty efficiently fast. But they can run circles around me.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I've heard that before of Hispanic employees. Like they just the efficiency. It's amazing. We have something to learn. Like why? How are you guys able to do that?
And just the capacity of the work that they're able to do. There's a reason why there's so many immigrants that have migrated here, not only from Latin countries, but also from Asian countries. Look at Asian employees. I encourage you to look at Asians. We have our first Japanese employee, and she is fantastic, super punctual, and very meticulous. And she's just been rocking and rolling since we've hired her. And then other nationalities, Filipino. They all I think there's a difference when you come from a more humble background and are very grateful for the opportunity. It's not always about money. It's and I do try. Of course, you're going to have that amongst any kind of culture.
Of course,
where you're going to have those qualities, and I think maybe I just look for that in the employee when I'm doing the interviews. I really try to see if they have a servicing heart. See if they do have experience, and when in that week of time when we're training them, you can kind of see if they have that little something to run circles around me and teach me something on when we're cleaning. But it really is pretty fascinating to see.
Do you have any tips? If anybody, this it may not sound the most PC, but if anybody is hesitant to hire somebody of a different ethnicity because of a language barrier. I remember I spoke to a woman in Canada, actually. She's Ukrainian, and she was hiring only Ukrainian refugees. The work ethic, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. But she said the language barrier was such a challenge with clients. She was having to translate it all. So do you have any practical tips to get over the language barrier so you have access to these wonderful employees?
I think, just use technology. The technology to help translate things really does help. Going to churches and putting a flyer out there to show that you do have a job opportunity available, those tend to be really good where that work ethic that you're talking about you can find. Now, I will say something, and I think as time evolves, we have noticed a kind of a shift on the Latino side.
Okay.
And I've noticed it on different cultures too, where they get a little too, in what's the word I'm looking for? Entitled
Oh.
to feel like they should be earning a lot more. And I think as a cleaning business owner, you need to be real clear on what the expectations are on your salary, on how you pay. Because once they get a little taste of higher pay at a certain per hourly rate for, say, we pay at a commission level.
Sure.
But there's different tiers. And once they feel a little, that taste of over a $28 or $30 an hour rate, they're like, oh, I want that all every single time. I'm like, not going to happen. It's because you're managing your own time, but the quality has to be there still.
Yes. Yeah. There's parameters. It's just not freely given kind of thing. No, that makes perfect sense. And honestly, like that's across the board, like for employees at all times. And that brings me, I mean, again, I love that I get to have so many conversations with such diverse people because the experiences are so different. So even paying commission, one of the troublesome parts about paying commission or percentage is that if they don't have anywhere to go up, it can kind of make them disinterested. So like for us, we charge hourly. They have something to strive for. So do you have any tips on making sure that they are incentivized to do the best possible work when it comes to paying commission? Is it having a tiered system and what are the qualifiers?
I truly feel it has to be something very simple to understand.
Yep.
We do have to realize when we're talking with different education levels, language levels, you want it to be very black and white in a sense that this is what you're getting paid for the job. And then if you are like us, where you have W-2 employees, these are the incentives that you get in addition. Each month we award Employee of the Month and they get $100. We award $25 to the one every month that gets the most 5-star Google reviews. So they're encouraging Google reviews. They're encouraging, they're motivated to try and do better at work and to get that Employee of the Month reward. It has to meet 5 different criteria. And part of that is just the consistency on the job, punctuality, your collaboration as a team player, different factors that really play into being an employee that's stellar. And you want to make sure when it comes to pay that they understand, even create a 1-pager if you have to, from the very beginning of onboarding them as a candidate before you even hire them. Make sure that it's understood on the onboarding process, that's how they're going to get paid. What are the benefits and what are the incentives throughout? 100% tips, things like that. Other things that you may pay out. We do a 1% profit share after 2 years of employment as well. So there's different ways to look at it where it's not always just money right on the spot for that particular job. And depending on the culture or just the person's work background, they may not be used to that. They're maybe just used to, I did this and I get paid this. And they don't see the full picture. For me, I try to create a company culture where they feel valued and listened to, but also we can work hard but play hard. And we'll do quarterly activities all together as a team, invite their families to do it too. And I've noticed that is like currency in our team. The different languages that are spoken in our team, they love it because they all bring their kids. We make sure that we recognize them as super people in front of their kids.
That
because
pride.
They really, and it's just a nice feeling. It's just a nice overall culture.
It is, and I think, and it just that strength and diversity of like, and even if we're not talking about languages, but just hiring people who are wildly different than you. And that was definitely one of my mistakes. Is I'm super extroverted. I know I've given this example before. I mean, shocker, Stephanie's extroverted, but that meant that when I would interview somebody who was absolutely opposite of me, like introverted, super quiet, just, buttoned up, I was like, I don't know if I can trust this one. What are they hiding by not talking? Where it's just like, they're just quiet. And then also making the mistake of thinking, oh, if somebody's super outgoing and personable, that means that they're going to be a great employee and they're going to be amazing and they're a good person. And some of my worst nightmare stories of employees were people who dazzled me with their personality, because typically that means that they have the ability to manipulate very well. And some of my best employees are super duper introverted, quiet, keep them to themselves. And so just keeping that in mind of what are your biases when it comes, like just because somebody is like you doesn't mean they're going to be an excellent employee. So don't allow bias in any realm to cloud your judgment, and really take a step back and say, okay, how am I, stereotyping potentially? Because that's what it is. It's stereotyping. And so catch yourself, check yourself in all capacities on that, 100%. And touching on your point of them not being used to benefits outside of strictly like, here's the money for the job, see ya. I think that speaks a lot to as well, where people are coming from a socioeconomic perspective. Because if you are used to having to think of today and putting food on the table today, you cannot possibly think 2 weeks from now. You can't think about retirement. That's like what? So you're almost having to, guide them to get to a more long-term thinking perspective. And that it takes time. It takes time for them to do that. So we try to kind of balance our current, very today-oriented benefits with those long-term ones when we're thinking about adding benefits, and also having the conversation with the staff members. That was a really useful tool. I remember last year when we were like, okay, are we going to raise the wage ceiling? And that's what me and my managers thought all of our employees would want. So we sat down and we asked them, what benefits can we be adding? Because we already had, 401k, health insurance, all of that good stuff.
That's fantastic. You do 401k.
Yeah. With company match, we do, like I said, health insurance. So some of the things, and they were like, no, not money. It's XYZ. We want this. And so we added, employee assistance program, which is free therapy for all of our staff and their family members, a car care, benefit, which basically reimburses them for car related expenses, increased PTO for part-timers, like all of these things that, I mean, they do cost money, of course, but it was more of like a well-rounded benefit program instead of just continually throwing money at them. So that's really interesting. Again, like, don't just assume what your employees want, ask them, and maybe they don't even have the capacity to think what it could be. So giving some examples of like, what sounds good to you. So that's really useful. One of the fun things we do, we have a spin the wheel. We got it off Amazon and it's a bunch of prizes. It's exactly like your like employee of the month thing where they have to basically hit these parameters and then they get to spin the wheel, and there's, cash prizes, free cleanings, gas cards and stuff. So it's really fun. We do that once per quarter. So that could be a fun, easy thing for people to do right away,
That's funny because our employee of the month, we offered 3 options, and each month the winner would be able to decide which one that they want. We ended up only keeping it as $100 cash.
That's what they wanted.
Because the other options was, I think it was up to 5 hours of babysitting for their kids, or it was a 60-minute massage.
Okay.
And nobody ever chose the babysitting.
They wanted the cash. Yeah.
I was like, I already have 4 kids. Just bring them along.
Yeah.
They would have fun with my kids. Or a 60-minute massage at one of those spas that would be closer to them. And no, they just like the $100.
That's the thing. It's like, I say all this not to say like cold hard cash feels really good. And that's another thing. Like once a month, we choose an employee we handwrite a card, mail it with $100 bill to their house, and like write a heartfelt thing. And there's something very visceral about $100 bill. So that's why I say do that. Don't do 20s. do $100
Yeah.
bill. But so it's just like that appreciation. And, when I look at my Christmas cards that I wrote for all, 30 employees, I hand wrote those. They probably couldn't read them. I mean, I know I have horrific handwriting, especially after 30
but
cards.
it's the thought that counts. Not many people handwrite anymore.
That's why I did it, the effort. And I got so many messages of like, this made me bawl. Like, and it's like the money was beside the point. The money in the card, they were like, that card meant so much to me, because to get it from their boss. And as you mentioned, like giving them accolades in front of their family and calling that out, like that it's such a wonderful thing to boost their confidence and remind them that like, this is a job to take pride in, not something to be ashamed of, which is, what some people see cleaning as is, like that's a shameful job, or you just do it because you have to and you have no other option, as opposed to like a profession that we are choosing to do. And so I think that's part of our jobs as owners, is to really affect the viewpoint on the industry. And that comes with highlighting your staff. Don't hide them in the shadows as if you're ashamed of them. Highlight them. They're the ones doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah. I really want to go ahead.
No,
Go ahead. I wanted to talk about Airbnbs. I got a bunch of questions for you. So
you do? Okay. Well, that's my jam too. I was just going to mention that who knew when I left corporate how fun, sexy cleaning could be, because it really can be, and it's so gratifying. I mean, I love the instant results where you just see
visceral,
all your hard work turned into something beautiful after just a few hours.
That instant gratification truly is something. And coming from a background of waitressing, where I walked out with a wad of cash at the end of if the IRS is listening, I reported all my tips, but I walked out with a wad of cash, and it was like instant gratification. So honestly, cleaning reminds me of that. It's instantly gratifying. You get to see your work right away. You're not just a cog in the machine of, I just do this widget on this car and it goes down the line or whatever. It's like that. This is very, you get to see the whole product, if you will. So, it's something very nice about it. So, but yeah, when it comes to vacation rentals, I mean, obviously vacation rentals, commercial, residential, like everybody seems to get into all of them, which we do all of those as well. But I know I made some very terrible mistakes, like taking on so much vacation rentals. We ended up chopping a bunch out because they were just not the right fit, and they can be truly nightmares. So how do you balance even just scheduling them into residential clean? Because they're tough, man. They are tough.
They are tough. And it's not consistent work.
Yes,
that's where you teeter off into an abyss of unfortunate not being able to really meet the needs for that Airbnb host. We have evolved from serving as much as 30 Airbnbs at one point in time before the pandemic, to now we serve, I believe, 10 or 12 Airbnbs on a more consistent basis. Those that still work with like a hotel in and out mindset, maybe 5 to 8 turns per month, or more. But for the most part, we all have probably experienced this, that either the turnovers have reduced, not as many per week or per month, and I think we've all have noticed that a lot of the larger Airbnbs have dwindled down to smaller, more manageable Airbnbs. And that's very much the viewpoint that we took in 2021 after the pandemic, where when COVID hit in March of 2020, we pretty much stopped all operations and took it as a pause to really try and figure out, what are we going to do with this? How do we need to protect our employees, protect clients? What kind of products do we need to be using? Do we need to switch out our products?
It was so stressful.
Yeah, it was so stressful, but Airbnbs was the thing that helped us.
It exploded for us in COVID because
it was so meticulous. The cleaning, you had to be different other precautions that you had to take. Even to the point that we had to have a badge over in Atlanta, an essential worker badge. But those times are way behind us.
Yes.
And
Thank goodness.
the takeaway from that was, if I want to own a company that is able to have 3 silo efforts with residential, commercial, and Airbnb, the Airbnbs have to be a winning formula for us, where it's only 2 bedrooms and below, where we could do those turns and sprinkle them into a calendar without really skipping a beat. And it's not taking us away for so many hours, where should it be a very last minute clean, we can incorporate that even on a Sunday if it's needed. But the larger homes, that's where we were tending to have issues. And it's tough, because I do have to say, in Atlanta, the market had completely changed. Either you have a lot of healthcare professionals that have traveling nurses and doctors that are staying in places maybe for a long-term stint, 1 week to 1 month. Then you have the entertainment industry that may be staying for several months or just for a quick shoot, and they are renting a whole house, to those that are for family events or professionals that have to stay here for different conventions and things like that. The other group of that was the party group. And we noticed that in our line of questioning, when we're first interviewing an Airbnb host, one of our essential questions that had to be answered was, what's your minimum stay? Because that helped us understand if they're doing their vetting process on their side to really understand what kind of guest is staying in their home. And it helps us understand, okay, they're a legit person. It's not like, unfortunately, in Atlanta, for some reason, I'm sorry to say this, there's a big porn industry in Atlanta, and they were using homes that just have one night stays.
Ooh, that's juicy. I never would have thought of that.
So we could write a book on how many different scenarios we walked upon after the guests have left.
Well, Vanessa, we are filthy rich cleaners. So please, you're welcome to share stories.
I'm surprised my team is still with me. But they're troopers. But we ended that, like, after the pandemic. Like I said, we took a whole relook at how we're going to approach Airbnbs, and the 2-bedroom, 2-bath were like just that sweet spot that we needed, and a 3-night minimum stay.
Oh, okay. So. What a just wonderful strategy of vetting, of taking a look at, like, okay, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater of the entire, like, no more vacation rentals.
Yeah, don't get rid of it. It's great revenue. It's fantastic.
It is, because it's so frequent. But really honing in on what is the ideal and saying no to the rest. And that's what we were, struggling with. After COVID, it was, or even during COVID, I should say, it was, they were all coming out of the woodworks, and we're like, yes, yes, yes. Because obviously we didn't have, everything else was concerningly slow when it came to residential, at least in the beginning of the pandemic. And so we're like, yes, let's take all these on. This is wonderful. And then, a year later saying this has become a beast and it's horrific and we hate it. And because of, like you said, the large homes, and we'd need 2 cleaners on it for 6 hours. And it's just like, how do you fit that in? And so much laundry. And I remember one was like, I think it slept like 25 people or something. It was this giant, like, log cabin. And I cried at it. My managers have cried, and all my cleaners cried at it, because it was so frustrating to do. I'm like, and the stress of, like, we know they're going to complain, the owners, because they had such unreasonable, not cleanliness. And that's the thing. We can nail cleaning. It was all of the kind of the property, like, maintenance-esque type of things. Like, and some owners are very unreasonable. Like this one in particular, they were like, we want the red towels in this bathroom and the black towels in this bathroom, as if it matters to the guest, and then would complain when we would not get their insane specifications right. And truly, they were not treating it as they should, which is like a hotel, and making it a systematic turnover. Or for us, we're, out in the boonies, and a lot of vacation homes are like by the lakes. And so they didn't have washers and dryers. They didn't even have dumpsters. So we're hauling garbage. We're hauling so much laundry to do at the office. And, we were charging for this, but we're like, sure. yeah, that opportunity cost of that time slot, we could have just filled with a regular house. Like, and so really taking a step back and like, does this make sense from a business perspective? And so, yeah, chopping out the big ones. That's kind of exactly what we did, and making sure, do they fit all of the parameters so that this is a good relationship and we're not resenting it? Because or they're so dang cheap that they're like, well, I only want to charge my client or my guest this much for the cleaning fee. I'm like, well, then charge higher on your nightly. Like, that's not my problem. like the price is the price, this is what it costs.
It's a delicate line, I tell you, because being an Airbnb owner myself, we don't have any at the moment for a reason. But even from an Airbnb host, something that all of us cleaning business owners do have to realize is if they ask a couple of things, ask for their Airbnb listing for that host. See what they're charging. See what they're charging per night.
Yeah.
See if they list anything in their amenities that you need to be mindful of, because there is a rhyme and reason. For the most part, a lot of these Airbnb hosts, it's their livelihood.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're being more of a partner to make sure that you're carrying it out and staging the place as best as you can from the pictures that are in their listing. It really helps to give that visual to your cleaner, and then take it to another level where you understand, you have that conversation with them. Is it really worth their ROI to pay us extra to fill up an olive oil container, or doing 5 loads of laundry because you want 4 towels per guest all of that adds up, whether it's them doing it or us doing it. It's got to make good business sense for your cleaning team, for the cleaner, for the cleaning company, for the cleaner that's doing the work, and for them ultimately, because if we're not doing it and they feel like, oh, we'll just do it, I feel like that's not the reason why you hired me. I don't feel like I'm doing a complete job. Remember, I'm trying to create a client experience that is Atlanta's trusted cleaning partner.
Including for them. Exactly. And like you said, it really is a delicate balance of, you got to watch out for yourself, but they too are a business owner. They are,
They got to look at their ROI and think of it that way. And when, for those that put out all those 12 decorative pillows on the beds, do you really want to be on a bed that has that many pillows? Because you don't see that in hotels. The less, the better. People want to know that things are sanitized and clean, and they're changed over quickly, frequently. Not always sitting there and you have no idea when things were washed or cleaned.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. So when it comes to our listeners who are interested in getting vacation rentals, and I don't mean to scare anybody off, they can be incredibly lucrative. It's about finding the right one. So what tips do you have for somebody who wants to get these, get vacation rental clients? Where would they go? It is different than getting, other ones. So we typically get ours coming to us just because of our online presence at this point. But say you don't have a great online presence, how do you get vacation rental clients?
Okay, I would go to your Facebook. If you have a Facebook account, type in Airbnb and your city name, and you'll be introduced to a bunch of groups for Airbnb hosts or cleaners in that area. But you really want to look for host groups. It's pretty consistent where eyes are always in those groups, because they help each other out in local groups. A host in Midtown Atlanta a pipe burst during the winter storm last week. They had a reservation for 4 people. They weren't able to accommodate them because the pipe burst. They go on those groups to say, hey, does anybody have a reservation available for a family of 4? My pipe just burst and I really want to just transition them over. That camaraderie is created in these local groups. And if you start to become like a knowledge expert, not always promoting your business,
but informational, like helpful.
Just information. If someone's pipes did burst, you can say, I have some available tarps that can be helpful for you if you want to borrow some, and maybe I can help with any cleaning that you may need after work is being done, something like that. Or you kind of show that you're a community contributor.
Yep.
And with that, you want to make sure on your Facebook that you at least have your logo or something to show that it's not just a face, or it's your actual company responding. So your company is always seen as the person. And word of mouth, networking. There's plenty of local meetup groups in your city that you can find. I think it's called meetup.com, or just go to, I guess just Google like that. You can look up through there just to do word of mouth. And realtors. Realtors are really great sources of people that are able to connect you. Networking is so important. You just have to always keep on doing it. And maybe even create a one-page flyer if you already have like set rates for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. If you want to go up that high, go ahead and just price it out there. Why not? I don't see why we're always so hesitant about our pricing. I'm very proud about our pricing. Yeah, we're not the cheapest, and we're certainly not the most expensive, but I feel like our quality is worth what we're charging. And here, that's what our rates are. If you're my competitor and you can beat it, go for it.
And we don't want to be the cheapest, and truly ever. You don't want to be at the race to the bottom, because that we always say, like, if you're looking for the cheapest, look elsewhere. Like, you do not want a cleaner who's not paid well. Why would you want that? You know, it's not good for anybody. So, and just being an employer as well. Like, for me, I want to support companies that treat their staff well. And I know not everybody cares about that, but I try to keep that in mind of we're very transparent of, like, these are our wages. These are the things that we offer, that type of stuff. And also, I think having your prices out there also give people a realistic understanding of what prices are today, because we need to combat those dang ads I always see on my Facebook for $19.99. Oh my gosh.
I knew you were going to say that.
Every time I see it, I get like hot. I'm like, I want to like get in the comments, be like this. It's like, nah. But because it tears down our whole industry, because then people think that is reasonable. And one, it's not even true. I know that they lock you into a contract and stuff and take advantage or whatever, but that's beside the point. The true cost of that to our whole industry is that then people devalue our work, or think that when we pay the actual going rate of today, then we are like, that's unreasonable. Or I've definitely gotten the comments of, I don't make that, and I have an XYZ degree, and you're charging that per hour, as if it's going into our pockets. Like, people just, you get all sorts of stuff, and just it is what it is, and part of the job, I suppose. But yes, I like that putting out the prices kind of gives people
create that one pager, and maybe it's something or it's just a flyer. And it's something that you can just share as a text message to the person that you're networking with your realtors.
So they have it. Yep.
And then use it with groups. Once you start getting into those Facebook groups, maybe you DM some of those Facebook hosts that are the hosts that are within that Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah. And truly just, don't be spammy, guys. I think that's anytime in my local community groups, when I keep seeing this lady post every day about their vent cleaning and all the sales they're doing. And I'm like, lady, you're not getting business this way. So don't be spammy, be helpful, provide value, and people will be happy to support you and share. So just always go into the world.
Show your personality. The amount of times that you post is showing your personality in a different way. Maybe in a way that you maybe wouldn't want to show.
And just, dear Lord, I again, another thing, I beat this dead horse. Clean up your dang Facebook. If you're going to be posting in these groups, they're going to click on your profile. what can people see publicly? All right. Like, please clean up your profiles and make sure it
Good
is on brand, wrapping it back to branding. Make sure that your personal profile is also on brand.
There we go. The branding girls, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. We'll wrap it up in a nice bow. And we are reaching our hour, Vanessa, so I want to be cognizant
this
of your
is
time.
fantastic.
This
Thank
has been
you.
great. I would love to talk to you again because, again, like I
Sure.
think we really are two peas in a pod with how we see our businesses and what we're doing here, which is providing a valuable workplace and providing a valuable service to the community that we should be proud of. And I just love to
I'm
hear
proud of
your
you,
perspectives.
Stephanie. I'm glad to be up here amongst you and so many others that have that same sentiment.
Yeah, we've got some great people in our community. That's for sure. It's a very special industry for sure. And I'm very grateful to be able to have these conversations. So Vanessa, if anybody wants to follow you or your business, where should they go?
Go to Clean to Casa Instagram, Clean to Casa LLC. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and just give me a shout out. If you have any other questions, give us a call. My number is 404-382-0470. I love helping out other cleaning business owners.
Oh, thank you for being a resource to everybody.
En español también. Sí, yo puedo ayudarte, okay?
Yes, that's fantastic, Vanessa. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we will definitely be talking again. And thank you to everybody for watching this week's episode. Be sure to tune in, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it, and share this with anybody you think it would be valuable for. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.
Ciao.